Brian, still haunted by memories of Cassie's betrayal, refuses to let go of the past. Cassie, after having too much to drink one night, had cheated on him, a mistake she only regretted once it had already fractured their relationship. As Brian wrestles with these thoughts, he's unaware of a hidden camera, secretly recording him. The following morning, Cassie prepares breakfast and goes out for a run. However, memories of her infidelity intrude, causing her to lose focus, stumble, and injure her leg. While making her way back, she spots a car and signals for help. The driver is Federico, a friendly Italian neighbor they'd noticed the previous day. Federico assists Cassie, bandaging her injury and driving her home, even giving her a quick kiss on the cheek as he departs. Cassie offers him coffee in gratitude, but he initially declines, only to return shortly afterward, requesting a visit. She politely lets him in, appreciating the help during a difficult moment. Soon, Brian notices Federico in their house and reacts with suspicion, doubting Cassie's intentions. Federico shares stories about a charming nearby town and invites them for a walk, but Brian declines, choosing to stay behind. Left alone, Cassie takes a shower, while Brian contemplates a marriage proposal. Despite wanting to bridge the emotional gap, Brian's lingering resentment over Cassie's betrayal weighs heavily on him, dampening any romantic mood. Meanwhile, the couple remains oblivious to the fact that a hidden psychopath is observing their every move, none other than Federico himself, who has access to surveillance inside the villa. Later, Federico offers the couple a ride to town for a change of scenery. During the drive, Cassie opens up to Federico about her relationship struggles with Brian. When they arrive, Brian expresses his thanks to Federico, but jealousy flares once more. In a heated moment, Brian confronts Cassie about her affair and alludes to calls she's received from a mysterious admirer. Frustrated, Cassie walks off, but near an ATM, she accidentally bumps into Federico again, who seems aroused by the encounter. Meanwhile, Brian heads to a bar to drink away his troubles. Federico soon joins him, trying to bond with Brian and prompting a conversation about their lives. At home, Cassie, bored and alone, finds a bottle of fine wine and begins drinking. Meanwhile, a more open Brian shares his reasons for mistrust with Federico, confessing his ongoing struggles to forgive Cassie's indiscretion with a coworker. He admits that this trip was their final attempt to salvage the relationship, but his sense of betrayal remains overwhelming. Sensing Brian's mood, Federico points out two attractive Italian women nearby and encourages him to meet them. Alexandra and Isabella join them, eager for the company, and together they start drinking. Despite a pang of guilt, Brian's intoxication leads him to continue socializing with the women. During the evening, Federico suggests they play a game, making 3 statements about himself, including the revelation that he has keys to the couple's villa and could visit Cassie anytime. Later, Federico acts on this claim, sneaking into the villa and entering Cassie's room. In her half-asleep state, Cassie assumes it's Brian and doesn't realize it's Federico. Meanwhile, Brian awakens alone in a motel, distressed and aware that he has lost his phone. When he returns home, he keeps the night's events to himself. While in the shower, he notices lipstick marks and attempts to conceal them from Cassie. Recalling Federico's mention of the keys, Brian grows uneasy and asks Cassie if they'd had any visitors, but she doesn't remember any. Their simmering suspicions soon ignite another argument, and Brian leaves to clear his head. Cassie, meanwhile, heads to the bathroom, unaware that Federico is still spying on her. At the same time, Brian decides to investigate Federico's home. Upon entering, he discovers it's uninhabited and realizes that Federico has been deceiving them, concealing his true intentions. Horrified, Brian races back to the villa. Federico, meanwhile, has returned to Cassie, offering her a meal of rabbit he claims to have hunted. Realizing Federico's scheme, Brian attempts to remove him from their home, but Federico counters with blackmail, threatening to expose Brian's night out with the Italian women if he tries to interfere. Forced into silence, Brian endures Federico's presence, even as the atmosphere grows increasingly tense, unsettling both Brian and Cassie. When Cassie steps away to clear the dishes, Brian confronts Federico, threatening to call the police if he doesn't leave. At that moment, Federico's demeanor shifts, and the true extent of his intentions becomes clear. Federico's unsettling presence increasingly frightens Cassie, reinforcing Brian's concerns. Seeking protection, Brian contacts the property owner to report the suspicious behavior. Meanwhile, Federico retreats to his hideout, continuing to spy on the couple through security cameras. A call from a close friend interrupts him, but he dismisses it, remaining focused on his sinister observations. Later, Brian decides to be honest with Cassie, admitting he had gone to a bar and encountered 2 attractive women. While he acknowledges he drank too much, he insists he doesn't remember enjoying their company or betraying her. Moved, Cassie forgives him, suggesting they rebuild their relationship on trust. Soon after, Cassie heads to the shower, asking Brian to wait in the bedroom. Brian decides to grab a bottle of wine from the basement, but the door abruptly slams shut, trapping him. He calls for help, but Cassie can't hear him, as Federico, having snuck back into the house, drowns out Brian's shouts with loud music. Cassie, hearing romantic music, assumes Brian planned a surprise and finds a small gift left for her. Meanwhile, Brian discovers a hidden door behind the wine rack, leading him into an underground passage. Navigating through the maze-like corridor, he eventually escapes and returns to the house. Realizing that Brian has managed to escape, Federico panics. Meanwhile, Cassie removes her blindfold, finding Brian's phone with multiple missed calls and messages. Watching a video, she realizes that Brian was indeed with the two women, feeling betrayed anew. As Brian re-enters the living room, he catches sight of a recording from the bedroom, leading him to assume Cassie was unfaithful again, this time with Federico. The hidden cameras capture their pain, feeding Federico's twisted pleasure as his scheme begins to work. Cassie and Brian, accusing each other of betrayal, escalate into an argument, and at one point, Cassie throws Brian's phone, shattering a mirror and revealing a hidden camera. The couple finally realizes Federico has been monitoring them. Determined to end the nightmare, Brian tries to call the police, but Federico, desperate to cover his tracks, storms back into the house. He has no intention of letting any witnesses escape and brandishes a hunting knife, lunging at Brian. A fierce struggle ensues, with Federico overpowering Brian and nearly strangling him. However, Cassie, in a surge of courage, grabs a nearby cane and strikes Federico, knocking him out. Shaken and overwhelmed, Cassie continues hitting Federico until he succumbs, ending the threat. Just as they think it's over, they hear a car pull up outside. Not wanting to risk jail time, the couple scrambles to hide evidence, concealing Federico's body in the next room. Eduardo, the property owner, arrives in response to Brian's earlier call. Though Brian and Cassie assure him that everything is fine, Eduardo insists on checking the house for their safety. It soon becomes evident that Eduardo and Federico were accomplices, using hidden cameras to blackmail couples. Federico's role was that of a twisted voyeur, while Eduardo capitalized on the recordings for profit. As Eduardo reviews footage in the surveillance room, he discovers that the couple killed Federico. He returns, hiding his true intentions, but Cassie and Brian suspect something is amiss. When Eduardo attempts to kill them to erase any evidence, Cassie cleverly distracts him, allowing Brian to strike with the cane. Eduardo spins around, but Cassie seizes the moment to stab him. Brian takes Eduardo's gun, and in a final struggle, fires a fatal shot. Afterward, Cassie and Brian discover the room filled with monitors, exposing the network of hidden cameras. They proceed to destroy every piece of equipment, burning the hard drives and burying the bodies in the garden. Exhausted but relieved, they take a shower, agreeing to keep their ordeal a secret. Having faced this harrowing trial together, they rekindle their bond and vow to move forward, blissfully unaware that one final camera, hidden in a garden gnome, continues to broadcast live footage of their every move. Unknown to them, millions watch their ordeal unfold, questioning if what they saw was real. Thank you for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. I always love hearing from you, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.